Yeah, I've been on the road and I just came back from governor's office in Kirovgrad region. And interesting enough, we did speak about Business Media Network. They're going to be our first oblast that will take up Business Media Network as their platform. We obviously have a lot of many municipalities already on. Paul, I really also great to see you there as well. I haven't seen you in a while, so good to see some of our students. Vladislav, good to see you as well. So obviously, Paul, I love your new hairstyle. Obviously, Rock is coming back, so which is good. And obviously, well, we all
I'm
changed.
looking professorial. And
Right.
Henry, I'm looking professorial.
Yeah, you are very much so. Yes, it's getting closer to Einstein and towards the end of his life. So,
Paul, that's your story and you're sticking by it, right?
That's right.
yes, exactly. So obviously, to me, this was a very difficult year for everyone, for obvious reasons. I believe the school, Concordia, have done a phenomenal job under very difficult circumstances to keep the momentum going of the school, as well as actually not only keeping the momentum, but also already making major steps forward, improving it. And I know you have received, I believe, I wasn't here first part, but I believe Natalie told me you did receive accreditation, Yulia, from Germany and for university, which is great. Is that the case, Paul?
Yeah, we are now in process of accrediting two programs, two bachelor programs at FIBA, German Accreditation Board, and we got already the report for our confirmation, and the results are very good, like 32 points meet the requirements and 17 criteria excess the requirements. So yeah.
Excellent. Great. Well, it obviously speaks volumes about the management and ability to deliver the value to the students. Obviously, this year I see Artyom here. Artyom is one of my most loyal students over this year. He's been, I think, in every class I had. So, and obviously, this was fascinating experience for all of us, especially with students. We've done a lot of work on what I think is going to become most critical for Ukraine's recovery. We see tremendous uptake by the mayors, by the businesses, by the projects of Ukraine using Business Media Network that was built by the students of this university. And I speak on many stages now, from Washington to Kropivnitsk today. I always talk about BMN and how proud I am of this particular project because of what the work the students have done. We believe, I don't have exact numbers, but Alexandra Kryukova, a student of Concordia, who is a CEO, she was obviously only 18 years old now. And at some point she was managing over 60 people, 60 students in the program. And I think we had over 160 or something like this went through the whole program in the class. We kept many students, into our program. Several of them got hired now already, working for us, and we are about to receive a lot of funding, I hope, for what we've done. This is always a tricky part where you go raise money, but the interest we're generating, guys, is absolutely phenomenal. I've been working in Ukraine for many years, but nothing like we are seeing now on both sides, in Ukraine as well as internationally, of how interested everyone in Ukraine. And I believe what we have figured out together with students, how to make that work, how to bridge the gap between the lack of project, lack of understanding, lack of knowledge in Ukraine with the $1 trillion demand to come into Ukraine. And that's what we have done. I believe you will see the results of the next 12 months. But it's the reason I'm back in Ukraine now, and I'm moving back permanently after the road show, which is going to cover 32 cities. It's going to be called Rebirth of the Nation. First one in June 29th in Rotterdam. And where we're going to be, it's an investment roadshow. We will be presenting projects out of Ukraine. Business Media Network will be one of the projects will be presented in all over the world. Yes, Elaine?
Yes, Henry. Everything you've been saying, particularly what you've just mentioned, I would like some more detailed information. because the reason I'm so, of course, supportive of this, the alumni, but particularly I want to fast track UACU alumni like yourself and your colleagues into the Ukrainian government's process that's happening now, as you already know, but for accessing multilateral funding for the big projects. We're not talking about grants. We're talking about the major funding that the government of Ukraine will be seeking for every single sector in
Excellent.
society.
Elaine, I thank you for that. And we definitely work with at all levels of government. And I can tell you my position, I want nothing to do with Ukrainian government at the national level. And the reason is we work directly with municipalities. We see the growth in municipalities. We are going to drown in bureaucracy on the national level. We now see a reverse where the government comes to us and seeking for help. For example, and they will know. I would be very happy. Paul, I know you and I will be talking or meeting. So I'm going to be in Kyiv next week. But my point is, I will send the information along. I'll ask Alexandra to do that. The one thing I want to mention before, maybe answer any questions, I want to point out to you all, and I spoke to Yulia, yourself, and members of the board and directors, and I spoke a couple of days ago to Natalia, who's been phenomenal since day one, since I started in Concordia. Natalia was a rock for me. And we spoke about new program that we want to launch, that we discussed. We want to launch this in January of the 24th, which I wanted to separate from the existing program that Concordia has, and to make this as an experiment and a program of adaptive learning, where students actually learning, and within it's going to be month to month roughly, and they go into the world and practice it, what they learn. So we want to test that program. We want to launch it somewhere in January. As Elaine, what you have said very correctly, there's going to be a lot of capital, but not from Ukrainian government, directly from United Nations. USAID will be available for those type of programs.
Actually, let me clarify this,
Thank you.
because this is exactly what I've spent my whole career on. You're right. It's going to come from the what's called multilaterals.
Yes.
World Bank, European Development Bank, Japan, the Japan
Sure.
funding. Okay. To separate, USAID funding does not flow directly to Ukraine. It only flows through US private sector entities.
Correct.
And so therefore, funding for programs and projects that are really important are going to come through the multilaterals like the
Correct.
World Bank and so forth. Now, when I mention the Ukrainian government, it is the Ukrainian government that asks for the funding from the multilaterals. To successfully ask that, they have to show something that they've not been able to do in the past, and that's called accountability and transparency.
Correct.
The very thing that you talked about, that Yulia talked about, and that Olga has talked about, and that is, for instance, with FIBA, UACU has been able to show accountability and transparency. Hence, that is how they proceed to get the accreditation.
Correct.
Okay, so for you, all I'm saying is I would like to know more so that I can make sure that you are part of that process.
Elaine, and this is
Sure.
what I'm coming to. And
Sure.
this-
Yeah, thank you very much, Elaine. I'm sure that Andrew will share with you a lot of
No,
information,
Julia,
but now we
I
will, yeah.
want to be very specific.
Yeah.
What it said in the last letter part is 100% correct. And you obviously know the reason we have said, there's a reason we set up Business Media Network as an American company. We clearly early on saw that that company will play a strategical role in Ukraine, and that company as an American company now already have done so and can demonstrate the results. Now, Elena, what I want to address to you is this, and Julia, comes on a strategic level of Concordia University. We now have 3 locations, in Kyiv included, where we are going to be building international campuses, which we're going to have multiple universities, as you and I and Paul discussed on multiple occasions. And that education is going to be obviously the main driver of transformation in Ukraine. And because of our resource, I'm not talking about just my own, but your resource, with many universities around the world, this is one of the things we're going to be accomplishing, but that's going to take a little time. Well, Elaine, what needs to be done now is very simple. I believe that Concordia University has an opportunity, historic, I would say, due to the times we live in and the Ukraine where we live in, where Ukraine is a huge brand now around the world, and we must take advantage of that opportunity by creating a vision to transform education of Ukraine. And I would be happy to share one slide, only one slide, to show you how.
Oh, no, don't show slides.
No,
It'll sound,
okay,
it'll sound like a class meeting.
No, I apologize. I'm not going to show slides, but
I'm teasing. Henry, I'm teasing you.
there's one slide that is all about how we see the transformation of education in Ukraine. And I discussed, Paul, with you and others multiple times, how we see that nothing have changed. And Elaine, to answer your question, I have offered this to Yulia, to the leadership, is Concordia, because of my involvement with the university. I'm looking for it because it is American, or partly. We are looking for it to take a leading role in that transformation. That means, Elaine, that everything, if we agree on and sign an agreement in that regard, with a joint vision document that we're all going to support and aim towards to get, this is where you will give a Concordia an opportunity in itself to apply for all the grant money that we can get from the World Banks, United Nations, and the like. And that's why Concordia can take a leadership role, because we can scale this education already through 570 municipalities, which will be over 1,000 by year end. And that's critical because Concordia must take a leadership of creating professional education, professional certification, first and foremost. And I've been arguing with my kids, my daughter just graduated today from UMass. She has a 4.0 GPA, which is the best my family ever had. But my argument always been 4-year education as a whole must change due to the fast pace of change that we all experience, like society never before experienced. And Ukraine in itself is going to experience tremendous velocity of change. And it's going to be driven by what tsunami that already started. I have a privilege of being on both sides and seeing very deep on both sides, and a financial tsunami that is coming to Ukraine, which is a very positive thing for the country long term. Short term, there's a big problem, but long term, it's extremely positive. Concordia must act now. Yulia, I am not kidding. I'm traveling, as you see on my LinkedIn, all over the world. Yesterday in Ukraine house in Kyiv, I was approached by 3 American companies in Kyiv asking me to help. Right now, I was just leaving Krapivnitsk, and they have a huge aviation, used to be largest Soviet Union aviation university. Some of you might know. They wanted me to speak to the Ministry of Education and to set up international campus for from all of the world for related to aviation and space, aerodynamics, and all that stuff. So this is happening now. We cannot wait. And I can tell you right now, very simply, if Concordia University does not act or continue the same business model, the future is not going to be very bright for the university. Education globally changing dramatically. And we have to be at the lead of it, at the here, because we can get a lot of money to fund what vision we will have together. On that, before I get too excited, thank you.